Okay, so we're looking at the cycles versus flow notes. This is in our new packet on energy through ecosystems. And I would use some color to just kind of color in this graphic that we have in your notes for you. The most fundamental processes in any ecosystem are the flow of energy and the cycling of nutrients. And the big thing to take away here is that you can't cycle energy in an ecosystem. Energy comes into an ecosystem, usually from the sun, but then is lost as heat. It's not that the energy disappears. Due to the law of conservation of energy can't be created or destroyed. It's just that there's no way to recycle the energy when it's turned into heat through these natural processes. So the heat is always lost out into the universe from the biosphere. This yellow is showing radiant energy from the sun. Remember that for any ecosystem to work or to be sustainable, you need a constant source of energy coming into the ecosystem. And for 99% of ecosystems, that's going to be the sun. There are some exceptions, like in the deep water ocean vents, where you have chemosynthesis happening instead of photosynthesis. But for the major big picture, energy is coming from the sun. That's then absorbed by autotrophs through photosynthesis, who turn that radiant energy into chemical energy. They turn energy from the sun into energy that's stored as food, usually as glucose. That chemical energy can then be used by the autotroph or might be consumed by a consumer and passed on the food chain. But regardless, that energy will eventually be used up, that glucose burned, through the process of cellular respiration. And when glucose is used up in respiration, we produce heat as a byproduct. And that heat, that's what's coming off your body right this moment. That's just lost to the atmosphere and eventually the universe. Nutrients, however, can be cycled in an ecosystem, and if they weren't cycled, we would run out of them very quickly. So nutrients are anything that is made up of matter. It's not energy, it's matter. You can touch it. It is made up of molecules and eventually atoms and elements. So nutrients are going to be things that all living things need and require to survive, but they'll be recycled in an ecosystem. So when something that's living is using them and that living thing dies, detritivores and other decomposers will recycle those nutrients back in the ecosystem. Okay, we got two important processes here: photosynthesis, which is turning electromagnetic energy from the sun into chemical energy, and then respiration, which is the opposite of that, turning chemical energy back into heat. And so I would write this just down or around your graphic, but energy enters the ecosystem via autotrophs, usually via photosynthesis, and then is transferred from one trophic level to another in a food chain via feeding. Trophic is referring to where you feed at, and so as we'll learn in the next notes, there are different trophic levels that make up what we call a trophic pyramid. The energy is used in cellular respiration to fuel growth, locomotion, and metabolism before being lost as heat. Whereas nutrients are matter, such as the chemical elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Those are the four big ones inside living things. These chemical elements and compounds move between organisms and the physical environment. Chemicals taken in by organisms are passed through the food chain and come back to the soil, air, and water through mechanisms such as photosynthesis, respiration, excretion, and decomposition.